Hello all, this is Aritra. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So this is the second video in the Python for Data Science series where we are going through the very basics of Python that is required to get you started in the data science field, right? So in the first video, we started with the different types of variables that is available in Python and how we can define those variables and how we can use that and do certain operations on top of the variables, right? And along with the very basics mathematical operations that you can do in Python. Now, in this video, the idea is to go through the data type conversation, then different type of loops like for loop and while loop, and how we can also write inline for loop with if and else condition, which is a compact way to write a for loop. Then we will also go through what is a range function and how we can loop through a dictionary, right? So these are the topics which we will go through in this video. So to start with, we will see how to do the data type conversations, right? So at first, I will define a variable which is I. So that I variable is a type of that variable is int. Now, if you want to convert this variable to float, right? So how we can do is we can simply write float and then within parentheses, we can write the variable name. So that will convert that variable to float. Now, the previous output, if I print my previous variable, so the output was 1, right? Now, once I do the conversation, I do the conversation from int to float. Now, if I print that variable, it will be 1.0. Now, the variable is converted to float, right? So this is how we can convert integer type variable to a float. Now there are different other methods which are available in Python through which you can convert a variable from one data type to another. Like this str will convert a variable to string, right? So then there is tuple. So that tuple will convert a string to the tuple. Then we have this list, which will convert a string to a list or any variable to a list. Then we also have dict, which will convert uh, this D to a dictionary, right? So, and we also have CHR, so that kind of converts an integer to a character, right? So these are the things which you can try it out, and we create certain variables and then try to convert to a different data type and see how it goes, right? So yeah, after that we can start with loops. So we will start with very basics of for loop. So for loop, to define a for loop or to do a for loop, let's first create a list. So that list is nothing but a list of integers, right? So now the task is for you to loop through this list and sum the total of this each of these integer elements, right? To do that, I will create a variable named total and I will initialize that to 0. So once I initialize, then I will loop through this list and individually I will keep on adding each of the elements to this total, right? So total will start with 0 and I will keep on adding each of the elements to this total. I will sum that value to the total, and in the end I will get the total sum for this each of these elements, right? Now how we define a for loop is you start with a for by writing a for, then a variable which is kind of once you define that variable and then you write in and the list on which we are trying to loop through, right? So for num in nums, so this variable you can name anything, right? You can name it a or num or whatever you like, right? So after that, what I'm doing is I'm printing that variable. Then I'm doing a sum with my total, right? So total starts with 0. So in the first iteration, it will be like 0 plus 10, right? And the 10 will be stored in my total. So in the next iteration, 20 will be added to 10 and 30 will be stored in my total. So in that way, it will continue till the last element of my loop, in the last element of my list, right? So you don't need to define the exit condition. So for loop can, once the all the elements are traversed in this list, then for loop will automatically exit from the list. Then in the end, I'm just printing the total value, right? So this print is kind of causing this printouts for each of the elements of my list, and in the end, we are simply printing the total value or total variable, and we are uh, getting the sum of each of the elements, right? Now, this is the way to print the total variable. And how we are doing, why we are doing it this way is, this is kind of a string and this is kind of an integer, right? So we are kind of using this method to print a string along with the integer, right? So this is the way to do it. Now, range is a function which we very frequently use when we are trying to create a range of value to do certain experiments or any type of data science work. So range has a syntax that first element is like the starting element from which you want to start your list, right? So the starting element here is 1 and the end element is 10. And you are taking a step of 2, right? So the first element is 1, then the second element would be with a step of 2, that will be 3, right? So in that way, I'm creating a range of values and then I'm using a for loop to loop through that range, right? So this is how it looks like. So the output will be like with a step of 2, the output would be 1 to 9 with a, yeah, with a step of 2. Now we can also use if and else condition within for loop. So we can incorporate a if and else condition within for loop. So here we are just creating a range of values starting from 1 to 20 with a step of 2. And after that, what we are introducing a if condition. We are checking if those numbers are divisible by 3 or not. If it is divisible by 3, then we are printing that, else we are moving to else and we are just continuing the loop, right? Whenever the number is divisible by 3, then only we are printing that value and else we are continuing the loop, right? So you see the numbers which are divisible by 3, those are getting printed here like 3, 9 and 15. Then we can simplify this whole thing in a single line. So this is what we call as inline for loop with if condition, right? So at first we are writing the for loop, which is like for I in nums. Then we are adding this if condition, right? So if this condition is matched, then only that value will be stored in this output variable. Otherwise, it will not add that variable to this list, right? So the output is also a type of list, and whenever the if condition is met, then only the output is getting stored in this variable, right? So this is how the output looks like. So we get a similar output, but here the output is in form of list, and we are using a single line to do this whole operations, the for loop along with if and else condition, right? Now we have this. We also have a while loop. So in the while loop, in case of for loop, we have seen that we don't need to mention the exit criteria. So whenever the for loop kind of traverses all the elements of the list, then it comes out from the list, right? But in case of while loop, so yeah, in case of while loop, we need to specifically mention the exit criteria, right? So here you can see I am initiating a variable I, that is I am starting with initializing that variable with 0. Then I am checking if the variable value is less than the length of my list, right? If this condition is matched, then only it will, the control of the loop will enter into the while loop and it will start printing that value. And in the end, I'm just incrementing this value of I. So incrementing the value of I by 1. So whenever this condition is failed, it will come out of the loop, right? So this is how we can write a while loop. So it's printing all the elements of my list with the help of while loop. Now we can also loop through a dictionary, right? So in the last video, you have seen how we can define a dictionary. Now we also want to learn how to loop through the dictionary, right? So this is the way to, at first we will kind of define the dictionary, which is this, and uh, then we can access the elements of my dictionary with dot items, right? So dot items will give you the key value pairs, and it will give you the set of key value pairs uh, for the dictionary. right? Now we can use this dot items method to get the key value pairs, right? And then we can print these values in pairs, right? And key and values. So if I just loop through like for k and v in dict underscore pi dot items, so we can access the key value pairs, and we can print the all the elements, all the key value pairs from the dictionary in this way, right? So yeah, this was all that I have for this video. So we like started with the data type conversation, then we looked into how we can define a for loop. Then we combined the for loop with the if and else condition, and we kind of then seen a compact way to write the for loop with the help of with if and else condition in a single line. Then we see what while loop is and how we can define a while loop. Then in the end, we have talked about how we can loop through a dictionary. Yeah. So thanks for your time. Thanks for watching this video.